The Church's teaching is that you may of course pray for the conversion of non-Catholics, public sinners, etc. while they are living, but you may not pray for people who die as non-Catholics or even for Catholics who die in grave sin. In terms of the deceased, a Catholic is only permitted to pray for people who die as baptized Catholics free from obvious grave sin. We've quoted popes on this in the past, including Pope St. Gregory the Great and Pope Gregory III. But here are two more relevant quotes on this matter from another Pope Gregory, Pope St. Gregory VII, one of the strongest popes in history. I've read all 9 books of Pope St. Gregory VII's register. In 1082, commenting on the excommunicated Prince Jordan, Pope St. Gregory VII stated, quote, "If therefore anyone should not be obedient to your counsels or our orders or the authority of blessed Peter, and shall die in Jordan's fealty or service, prayer should certainly not be offered for him, and we also command that he shall not be committed to burial after the custom for a Christian." End quote. So here we see again that Catholics are not permitted to pray for deceased individuals who die in disobedience to the authority of the papacy, and that principle applies to all public sinners and heretics. The same pope taught the same principle in 1076 in reference to the excommunicated Bishop William. Quote, "If then in this schism which being ventured upon against the Holy and Apostolic Church, he or anyone who shall have freely signed his name, and while knowingly communicating with the excommunicated king, has died or shall have died without penance and satisfaction, we cannot differ from the relevant sentence of the Holy Fathers, namely, with those with whom we have not communicated while they were living, we do not venture to communicate with while they are dead." End quote. But then he says that for those who did not communicate with the excommunicated, prayers can be offered to the Lord, but not for people who did communicate with the excommunicated and died in that state. So again, we see that a Catholic cannot pray for deceased individuals who die outside of communion with the Church or in grave sin. Pope St. Gregory VII cites the principle which comes from Pope St. Leo the Great, that, quote, "With those with whom we have not communicated while they were living, we do not venture to communicate with while they are dead." End quote. The Church's teaching is that if they were not in the communion of the Church before the end of their lives, you cannot pray for them after their death. That's Catholic teaching, and that principle was actually incorporated into medieval canon law. It's also connected to why all the unbaptized, including unbaptized catechumens, were not given Christian burial if they died without the sacrament of baptism. That's the ancient tradition, but that's a somewhat separate topic. Since Antipope Benedict XVI was a notorious heretic, an apostate, a public sinner who gave no evidence of conversion or a repudiation of his false ecumenism, but rather adhered to the Vatican II counterchurch to the end and was one of its leaders, he cannot be considered to have died a Catholic, and Catholics must not pray for him. That's the truth. And those who wrongly say that this is uncharitable don't know what they are talking about. No, you lack Christian charity. The foundation of charity, as Pius XI teaches, is faith pure and undefiled. You cannot understand or have true charity if you do not have the true faith. God casts people into hell forever who deny just one of his teachings. That's his law. That's what he does.